What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai, an extension of Anime Senpai PH channel. All pieces of information are derived from the light novel. In today's video, we will continue to discuss Chapter 5, Volume 7 of the light novel, entitled Holy and Demonic Collide. This video is the fourth part of Chapter 5 in our Tensura spoiler video series. If you haven't watched the previous episodes, feel free to check out the links in the description below. Now, let's get to the video. Hinata, 10 years later, was another protector of humankind. She found a way to atone for her sins. When Hinata became captain of the Crusaders, she enacted measures that had reduced casualties down to astonishingly low levels, because they were able to make accurate predictions of where monsters would appear and how much damage they would cause. They worked better as teams now and reworked their patrols for optimum efficiency. Revising the system had reduced the mayhem and produced impressive results, and that was the reason the knights trusted Hinata so much. Even though Hinata had to laugh at the irony of her behind-the-scenes connection to the demon lord Valentine, Hinata could see that was the most rational way to keep the peace in this land. Hinata didn't even let it bother her, and she had no regrets. To Hinata, all were equal under the god Luminous. Now though, the situation is poor because there's no longer any room for negotiation. Rimuru doesn't seem willing to listen to her, perhaps as payback for Hinata, ignoring him so willfully last time. If Hinata dies in this battle, she won't even have the chance to explain her actions, so Hinata has to win, so she could have the chance to explain her side. Hinata sized up Rimuru. Arno and the others had moved away with their own opponents, and it is just the two of them now. Rimuru may as well have been a different person from before, so Hinata silently invoked her Measurer unique skill to look him over. Hinata was shocked to find out all that growth of Rimuru since their first encounter. The idea of Rimuru warring with humankind made Hinata shudder. If Measurer could not even fully gauge him, it only means Rimuru is either at her level or higher. She continued and invoked her Usurper to let her effortlessly see through and steal the target's skills and arts. Usurper is Hinata's other unique skill, and the one absolute advantage she could always enjoy over those superior to her, though it doesn't mean she could use all those stolen skills and arts. Taking away the skills that her opponent worked so hard to obtain is, in its own way, a cruel and merciless gesture. If the target is below Hinata in skill, the evaluation results provided is always not applicable, and it means she could not take that target's skills. If the target is better than her, Usurper results could either be fail or success. Ending with one of those results means this is a pretty strong opponent. Success means she knows all the target's skills and arts, and if it failed, Hinata could just try again as many times as she wanted. No matter how formidable the foe, given enough tries, Hinata could always make the skill succeed. To assure Hinata's victory, it is just a matter of staying on guard, buying time, and waiting for the right moment. When Hinata fought Rimuru for the first time, Usurper came back with a not applicable result for her. It convinced Hinata that she had nothing to worry about, and totally downplayed Rimuru's chances. She had perfected her skills to the point that she had Force Takeover, a rule-breaking skill that was fully effective against weaker opponents. To see what kind of enemy she was dealing with, Hinata invoked Usurper as a starter. This time though, the result it returned to her was blocked. That was the second time she had seen that, and the first was against Luminous Valentine. Hinata was impressed that in such a short time, Rimuru was in the same lofty heights as Luminous. Realizing the hefty Dragon Buster sword would be no help at all to her, Hinata took that sword off her back and tossed it aside. Instead, she drew the weapon Luminous gave her, Moonlight, a legend class blade. Protecting her was her Holy Spirit armor, the original that was granted to her other paladins in spiritual form. It was one of the greatest countermeasures of the Western Holy Church, an item wielded by the great heroes of the past. It was built for tackling dragons and monsters, and only those truly beloved by the spirits could use it. The light shrouded Hinata, settling itself into the shape of glowing armor over her form. Hinata is now free of all restrictions, a saint in terms of force and stronger than an enlightened. It is now a clash of power against power, and Hinata is willing to put it all on the line. Waging war without any hope of winning was the work of a madman. But here, Hinata's heart was singing. She smiled a little. Rimuru asked if she had received the message, which meant he was ready to settle this with a duel. But her mind and heart made up. She let it beat out its frenetic rhythm as she pointed her blade at Rimuru. Hinata supposed that her victory in this battle would eventually vindicate herself. Rimuru wondered why Hinata had still decided to tangle with him, in spite of the fact that she heard his message. Rimuru thought that Hinata wanted to talk when she threw that weapon away, but Hinata just whipped out an even meaner looking one, and her eyes bored down on Rimuru. Rimuru just hoped to win the fight and have Hinata give him the story then. Facing off against Hinata like this, Rimuru couldn't help but remember that this lady had no weaknesses at all. Out of any existing weapons Rimuru have seen in this world, this blade in Hinata's hand has to be a far cry above anything else. Rimuru took out his katana to address it. If he knew it was going to shake out like this, Rimuru should have had Kurobe finish up that katana he had been cooking for his own personal use. The one that had been sitting in his stomach for a while and steeping in a steady stream of magicules, and now a healthy-looking shade of black from tip to handle, is in Kurobe's workshop right now. Faced with Hinata's blade though, the substitute Rimuru had in his hand seemed a little lacking. Rimuru chose to keep it within his aura for protection, and tried to avoid a lot of swordplay. So Rimuru had Uriel take control of his magic aura skill to cover the blade in dark and thundering flame. Rimuru is all set now. They kicked off with a few ultra high-speed exchanges. It had only just started and Hinata was going all out. The speed of Hinata's sword was staggering. Mind Accelerate raised the computational speed of Rimuru's brain to 1,000,000 times faster than normal, and it still just barely let him react. It even reminded Rimuru of his fight against Milim, but he wasn't losing. Rimuru would deflect a blow, then return with a slash of his own. They had exchanged a few blows at this point, but none of them had landed a strike. No grazing blows to Rimuru's body either, which he was glad for. They were testing each other out, but Rimuru still couldn't fathom what Hinata was capable of, even with the support of Raphael and the power of a Demon Lord. Even though Hinata was strong, as a true Demon Lord, Rimuru figured that would give him a decisive bodily advantage, but they were even. Hinata, apparently reading the path of Rimuru's sword with robotic precision, always lunged in at just the right moment. There were no extraneous movements in her flow, and even when Rimuru slashed back, Hinata would just shrug it off and give him a flurry of sharpened blows, poking at Rimuru in search of weaknesses. Hinata had hoped to overwhelm Rimuru with her sword, making him accept defeat at an early stage, but Rimuru was easily her equal. It had taken Hinata 10 years to polish her sword skills, and Rimuru was countering all of them. The human body has its limits. Only by using magic and skills and arts to their fullest could you finally fight it out against monsters. And Rimuru didn't even need to breathe. His endurance would never wane, his muscles never ache, and no magic healing was required to ensure that. She understood the disadvantage she faced from the start dealing with monsters. Survival of the fittest is the rule of law in this world. That's why it is vital to set up all the conditions you need for victory in advance. Hinata revved up Measurer, speeding her mind 1,000 times, even pushing it past the limit as she gauged her surroundings. It placed maximum pressure on Hinata's brain, even bursting capillaries, something she handled with self-regenerative magic, before the enemy could enjoy a single glimpse of weakness. In this state, the world seemed to be frozen to Hinata, but it still wasn't enough. She used Measurer's compute prediction skill to figure out the paths of Rimuru's attacks. That was how cornered Hinata felt. Every arrow in the quiver needed to be used, but Rimuru still looked like he was taking it easy by comparison. Hinata wiped away the drop of blood that just dripped from her nose, ensuring it wasn't noticed by anyone, and gathered her breath. If this would go on for too long, her defeat would be guaranteed. Even in her present saint-level status, Hinata's human body limited her. If she wanted to become a demi-human spiritual body, Hinata still had one more wall to overcome. Usurper, Hinata's main lifeline was blocked and useless. The one advantage she could always count on against stronger enemies was gone. So Hinata had to overwhelm Rimuru with all the technical skills she had cultivated over the years. The sword Luminous granted Hinata housed a scary amount of power. Using her magic force to impart an aura into it, let her attack opponents with a kind of lethal damage. Basic regeneration skills couldn't cope with. Even foes with ultra speed regeneration could be cut in half with this thing. If Hinata could just take an arm off with it, without killing him, she thought this would be over. If she could have Rimuru accept her victory, then it would be settled. But Hinata just couldn't land that strike. Rimuru's masterful grasp of the air around them, plus his honed physical skills, let him accurately predict every motion of Hinata's sword. Hinata couldn't get over Rimuru's growth, but only in terms of physical ability. She was not sure his technical skill has kept up though. Rimuru had evolved, and greatly so, but his innate talents had not changed that much from before. Even if Rimuru could steal arts the way Hinata could, all that involved is to grasp the fundamentals and have your body remember the moves. Making full and actual use of them take years of repetitive practice. That has to apply to Rimuru just as much as it applies to Hinata, and she is counting on that for her victory. This might come down to fighting experience, and Rimuru was greatly lacking there. Hinata could see that, and so she switched tactics, alternating her tempo to throw him off guard. Taking full advantage of her polished skills, Hinata did her best to lead Rimuru to his defeat. That's it for this video, guys. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and click the bell notification icon so you will never miss the upcoming continuation of Tensura spoiler video series. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shout out to the top 10 commenters on my previous video. Shout out to Joshua, John Lester, Kuan Shuan, Jamie Ira, Lloyd, Jedrick, Luna, Joji Ray, Ge Melon, Ayan AMVs, Jin Mahinai, and last but not the least, shout out to Hashira is Shish. I'll see you guys in the next video.